So how do you see that affecting marriages today?
Well, it affects marriages in a sense that, like, for example, let's say the water pump broke in the house, and they need it fixed, and they have a bank account, but in order to get a certain amount of money out to fix this water pump, they both have to do it because to a certain amount of money, like you both have
signatures are required,
right,
or joint.
And so let's say, she's a little frantic because there's no water, because people, they respond to conflicts, it's going to happen. And then he gets upset. It's like, well, I got my people on this, and I was going to do it this way, and, I can't do it right now. And that's stonewalling, because instead of addressing the direct problem at hand, now he's making an issue of, well, I don't like the way you're talking to me. And it's like polite society has a way of undermining what the actual issue is by just saying, I don't like how you're saying something, as opposed to, no, you need to validate what I'm saying.
Excellent, excellent point. Well, what can be done to correct that? What are some strategies, some tips when this is happening in a relationship, not necessarily a marriage, but any relationship? How can, how can this be corrected?
Right, to correct it, we have to fix the viewpoint that the man is entitled to rule over the household. Like, that is the fundamental issue, is the feeling that the woman is supposed to defer her authority to the man, or that he's supposed to have the final word in the household. If that's the sin of Adam, because Adam was in sin, and then as a result he became a tyrant and was ruling over the woman, and then it trickled down into each generation with them giving away and taking wives in marriage as though they're property. So to correct that, the man has to correct the idea that he is supposed to rule over his wife.
But in many cultures today, that is something that you see that's prevalent, paying a dowry, for a wife. Even if we look at some of the traditions of a typical, wedding in this country, it's a lot that makes the wife the subservient, body in that. So again, how do we break some of those stereotypes or change that today, or is that necessary?
Well, for one, you mentioned a dowry, and this is something that I'd like to clear up, because I mentioned this in the book too. The dowry is not actually paying for the bride. The dowry is insurance, because if the man were to break the marriage covenant and leave, and she would be left without any support, because the man was supposed to provide for the house, and he's still supposed to provide for the household today. But if he were to just suddenly decide, well, I'm not working, I'm not doing anything, and I'm leaving you for somebody else, then she would just be out with nothing. The dowry was paid because, when Jacob said, I'll serve you 7 years for your daughter, that's 7 years of wages, and that's a lot of money. That's enough to buy a house, according to, certain translations and how much wealth that costs. So the dowry was given to the father in the event that if the man broke his covenant, that the daughter could return home and have her own house and her own flock and her own sheep and be able to support herself, rather than being subject to, if I don't keep this man pleased, then I'll be out with nothing. So they have changed the dowry into selling the daughter, because the father has misappropriated the funds and kept the dowry for himself. So in terms of, like you said, what can we do in society, we have to hold people accountable. We have to just change how we do things and not let ourselves be treated in a way that's less than what we ask for. So just like if a politician were to misappropriate taxpayer funds, buying pools, spending on extramarital women, he would be removed from office. And just because someone is your father, you can honor your father, but that authority has to be removed from him if he is misappropriating funds, if he is not doing what a father is supposed to do. And the same with a husband or anybody else.